Alrighty everybody, so I have started on my engine. As everybody knows, I've already taken off the cylinders on the side. I took off the side covers and I didn't video that. They're super easy. There's really nothing to the side covers to take off or video. So I just wanted to kind of show you that. So I did on both sides here. I don't have an engine stand, so I'm using a piece of cardboard and it works perfectly. So we'll start on the flywheel stator side here, just for everybody to know. This clip, or this little portion of the video, will be before I have the correct and proper tools. I do have them ordered on the way, but I just wanted to show here real quick that most of what you can do, the special tools for doing engines, typically, in the case of what I've dealt with, are for when you're reinstalling the parts, not necessarily when you're taking them apart. Although flywheel is one really important piece. You do need a flywheel puller if you're going to pull the flywheel off. But believe it or not, you can take your this is like a half-inch gun here, brushless DeWalt. Any half-inch gun will work. Anything with a lot of juice, you know, when you hit the throttle it goes, you know, kind of thing. You don't have to, so the point is, if you're using something like this brushless DeWalt with a lot of power, you don't necessarily have to go in and have a flywheel holder, you know, right? You can hold it with your hand, hit the gun, it'll pop off. But when you go to reinstall the flywheel, you'll want to have something that, you know, like a spanner wrench that you can stick in here as a holder for the flywheel so you can torque it down properly. So again, was able to get the nut loose. You can pull it off really easy. But inside of the flywheel here are threads. So you have to go get a specific thread, specific flywheel puller for this machine. I believe this is a 27 millimeter flywheel, so you can go get the appropriate thread. If you look up like this one, for example, I just looked up RZ350 flywheel puller, popped up online, bought one. So in the process now, you have to wait for that, unfortunately. You don't want to try and take a pry bar because you really don't want to wreck the outside of your block here, where the gaskets will go up against. So really need to have a flywheel puller. So the next side of this, same kind of concept again. So this is your primary gear right here. The half-inch gun pulled that nut right off of there by literally just holding this with my hand, hitting it with a gun. And then inside of here, I did the same thing for the clutch basket. So this clutch basket, if anybody is curious, is 32 millimeters. Let me double check. So yes, 32 millimeters. Had to go get a new socket for that. And this one here is 24 millimeters. So just keep that in mind when you're pulling these apart, because they are a little bit, 24 is a little more common, but 32 is definitely not. So right now we're gonna go ahead and pull this clutch basket off, pull this primary gear off, and we'll see what happens behind it. Let's do it. So I pulled the whole clutch basket off here, and something that's really important to note, and we're gonna grab my little handy dandy screwdriver for a pointer stick. But you can see it on this side. You see how on there you got all these little ribs on there? That's not supposed to be the case. That's supposed to be very, very smooth. This bike's got 40,000 miles on it, so that clutch basket is junk. You're not supposed to have them like ribbed portions on it. You're not supposed to see it completely smooth. Same for the inner. Inner's not as bad, but I ordered one online anyways, as well as the clutch basket, because I saw that these are bad. So you got to replace those completely. So something you have to watch out for with some of these higher mileage bikes. Got to be key. Otherwise, your clutch will not properly function. It'll actually act like it's sticking more than anything. So something for you to know. Something I also highly recommend doing when you're tearing motors apart is to it's actually a trick my dad taught me. It's not that overly complicated, but you want to take and put metal baling twine around every part you take apart, so that you remember the order, exactly the order of how it went on and how it comes off. So pulling this motor apart, and I'm noticing a few things that I don't like. I noticed that there's a lot of like metal shavings here in the bottom, or something like metallic in the oil. And what I'm also realizing, here's a piece of some gasket. That is a piece of something, as well as that is a giant piece of metal. I'm not sure what happened, what has broken off, but it's coming from in the transmission area. So I think that this motor was really ready to dynamite, to be completely honest. So we're gonna have to do a lot of diagnostic with this. No. All right, so I got the clutch side of the motor pulled apart as far as I'm gonna go for today. I am gonna split the top from the bottom eventually, but I'm kind of leaving everything in there for now that should be in there. I don't believe that these bearings are an interference fit, just given that how the cases come together. At least I'm hoping so. We will see how this thing comes apart as time goes on, but kind of scary to find a piece of aluminum in there, aluminum chunk. And I do see signs of somebody else in this motor at one point or another for a potential rebuild. So this crank probably isn't original, is my guess. Maybe I'm wrong, but definitely should not have a broken piece of aluminum. I'm not sure where it came from, but given the fact that the port where it was stuck in, I have a feeling it came from the clutch side, and that's a good thing, truth be told, because that doesn't mean that there's something wrong with the transmission, or that hopefully no giant chunks of metal got in there, which would have dynamited this motor. So positive, I guess. So we'll keep on cranking. Once we get the flywheel puller, we'll pull off the other side and go from there. Got done wrenching today, and all that, and I've been just thinking about this little piece of metal that I found in the motor, and turns out, I believe it's got a little dot on the top, and I figured out what it is. It is a clutch, part of a clutch basket. I line it up, you can see same exact dot. So it looks like for some reason the clutch basket let loose or broke, and that was a piece that they never found, which is crazy to me because of how large it is, and how much metal that I did find in the bottom of this. It's like almost like they didn't even change the oil either. It's just quite odd, to be honest. I really hope that these aluminum pieces didn't wreck everything in the motor. I'll be checking and inspecting all the bearings, of course. So cross your fingers, just send it straight up. Alrighty, everybody, new day, new time to work on the motorcycle. Got the flywheel puller here, and I got my Hot Rods crank. Shout out to Hot Rods. If you want to sponsor, let me know, all right? So I think we're just gonna go ahead and take off the flywheel here and go from there and see what else happens today. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and install the flywheel puller here onto the flywheel. So it's threaded inside of here. It's threaded on the out, and you screw it in. Keep in mind, this is left-hand thread. It's not right-hand thread, so it will not screw on. I sat here for about 10 minutes trying to figure that out. But once you screw it in here like that and tighten it down, and you take your bolt here, stick it in there, screw it in, and tighten it up, and it'll pull the flywheel right off. So just like that, it is off. Again, you put the flywheel puller on. I just use my impact, and you're going to be tightening down to pull the flywheel out. You just hit the gun a few times, and it'll pop right off. Works pretty slick. All right, so I pulled the stator off here, off the side of the motor. Super easy. Just 3 screws right here. Pull it off, and you pull the whole stator off. Pulls the whole trigger coil off, everything. If you really want to get crazy with this, I believe, actually you can pull it out through here. You got to take out that rubber grommet and get this off to the side. So we're probably going to go ahead and do that, and then we should be able to kind of start getting the top of the motor apart. All right, everybody, so we're going to split the cases here. You got to take out all these bolts on here. There's like 8 of them here. There's 8 nuts on the bottom of the motor too as well. All these are 12 millimeter on the bottom, 10 millimeter on the top. And then you hit the cases lightly and they should split apart. So I'll set up the camera here so you can see me really muscle this off here. Hopefully it comes out. Seems like we got a seal here that's stuck. There we go. Just like that. Cases come apart. Should be able to get everything apart from here on and take a good diagnostic of the motor. Woo! Yeah. All right, so the crank is out here. So upon inspection, you know, everything really looks good on this crank, and honestly, bearings are all fine and all of that. Maybe, I don't know, they actually feel really fine. It's really this gap right here. You shouldn't have that big of a gap. I think the manual called for like 0.03 inches, and this is like at least a 1/4 inch, so 0.25. You shouldn't be able to do that. So these are the crank seals right here. This is really important that these seals are new, so I don't know if I ordered new ones or if they come on the crank, but I will be ordering new ones. If these leak, you will blow up your motor or have other problems, so you can't have crank seal leaks. Otherwise, you typically what'll happen is you'll lean a piston down. So I got everything pulled apart here, just for my notation, while and for you guys. You do have this little, I don't know if I want to call it a guide. I'll call it a guide that's got to pop in here. So this would technically be the right side, so the big right side piston. And then the seals actually have little ribs on them, and then they go in the ribs here on the outside, so they actually sit right in there real nice. So that's kind of the idea, both sides. So this left side of the motor does not have that guide. It only has a rib for the seal itself. So transmission, I'm going to pull apart this transmission, at least pick it up and set it over to the side so that I can clean the cases and all of that. I left a lot of the bottom end pieces in here because I really just don't need to take them out. So I'm going to pull this off really nicely and set it off to the side. All right, so I have the motor torn apart. I didn't want to take out the transmission at all, but unfortunately you can see all that gunk in the bottom of the transmission. On top of it, I found another piece there of the clutch basket. Well, I did it again. I'm sorry, everybody. Ba-boom. Snap. Aha, motor's built. Pretty much ready to go. Gotta get a new radiator hose to go up in here, which would be easy to get that at like an AutoZone. Put some new reeds on it as well, carbon reeds. New spark plugs, pistons, crank, sprockets, neutral safety switch. Pretty much went through this entire motor. Basically brand new. So crank seals, all that jazz, right? So if you replaced a few transmission bolts or transmission bearings as a result of the metal shavings that were in the motor. But other than that, she is cooking. Replaced the water pump bearing too, which is fried, but this thing is ready to rip, boys. So hopefully we get the motor in here and be able to give her a first kick. Unfortunately, the suspension parts are back ordered until I think it was April. So I'm kind of screwed until then. So it's March. Maybe we'll see if we can find some nylon bushings to go in there and send her down the road, boys. All right, let's keep going. We're back at it again, but snap of the fingers. Take a look. RZ350 basically back together. Waiting on some suspension parts down here, actually suspension linkage there. I gotta get some rubber bushings, or excuse me, nylon bushings for there. But man, otherwise she's pretty much ready for the first start. Got oil in it, radiator fluid, coolant I should say. But yeah, she is ready to freaking rip. Can't freaking wait. I have a few things on order that I gotta get, like I mentioned, the bushings. Also waiting for power valve cables in here because they were a little bit tore up. And I gotta bleed the rear brake or do something with the rear brake. I put different, I rebuilt it, but it's still leaking, and I think one of the pistons on it has a little bit of marring. So had to take that off for now, but really that's about it on the list. So power valves, cables, suspension linkage, rear brake, and tighten up the chain, of course. This thing is like ready to go. So thanks for following along. Apologies for the lack of video content here, but at the end of the day, I had to stay focused on this and get this done, and I really wanted to make sure I did it right. So I think I'm there. But as always, stay tuned for more awesome action with the RZ. Boom.